Сайн байцгаана уу хүнд үзэгчдээ. Өнөөдөр орой манай де факто нэвтрүүлгийн зочноор Бүгд Найрамдах Турк улсаас Монгол улсад суугаа. Онц бөгөөд бүрэн эрхт элчин сайд Ноён Мурат Карагöz оролцож байна. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mr. Factor.
Mr. De facto. Last year was the 45th anniversary of diplomatic relations establishment between two countries. And you were the ambassador celebrating that with not only people of Turkey or Mongolia, but all community around the world. How do you assess the level of cooperation between two countries today?
So first of all, thank you very much for hosting me tonight. So as you said, that last year was an important year. We celebrated the 45th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relations between both countries, Turkey and Mongolia, and which gave us an opportunity to make a genuine assessment what has been achieved so far and what needs to be done in the time period ahead. So in the retrospective, when I look back, I see that the greatest achievement itself is to establish these diplomatic relations, because during the Cold War we were in different camps. Turkey belonged to NATO, and Mongolia was next to Russia and then the Soviet Union. So despite all this fact, in 1969 we established diplomatic relations. And then, of course, in 1990, with the democratic revolution in Mongolia, a new opportunity or horizon has arisen between both countries, namely a good friendship and partnership based on contemporary values. I mean, democracy, respect for human rights, rule of law, and free market economy. Another achievement itself is the thousands of the graduates of the Mongolian students from the Turkish universities. Another one is the visa-free travel regime, which we achieved last year, and also direct airline linkage between Istanbul and Ulaanbaatar. And also, of course, in the foreign policy concept of Mongolia, Turkey was labeled as the third neighbor. I guess that these are important achievements that we gained so far.
Indeed. Turkey, our third neighbor. And as a third neighbor, we study more closely what is that driving force behind Turkey's achievement for last, in particular, 15 years. In your country, which has, not unlike us, a lot of minerals under the ground, and you achieved tremendous success. What is secret behind, do you think?
That's correct. Definitely in the last 15 years, we have achieved a lot. In democratization process, in economy, in the social sphere, we really achieved a lot. Number one reason behind was this political stability. Since we entered in the multi-party politics in 1950, there has been many governments, sometimes with one-party governments, sometimes with democratic coalitions were in force. But since 2002, Turkey was able to gain this strong political stability. So that triggered also a courageous step in the field of economy. So since then, the GDP of Turkey has been tripled. So growing rate, the average growing rate has been reached the level of 5.8. Turkey has adopted enormous laws, important law, which allowed also new investment in Turkey in various sectors. Definitely tourism was one of them. And also in the political sphere, we achieved a lot. There were many restrictions in the democratic processes of Turkey. They were abandoned. In the judicial sphere, we achieved a lot. So all in all, taken together with this 13, 14 years in the Turkish democratic history has been remarkable.
I would like to go a little bit further back when you had a war after the First World War, long extended war, then civic war, and then that time your leader Atatürk made decisions to convert Arabic letters into Arabic letters of Ottoman Empire into Latin. and you are the first sort of countries who was using Arabic letters into Latin. How do you see that move in terms of starting that further democratic and political, economic growth in the country?
Of course, 1923 is the milestone in the Turkish history. In that time, I mean, Turkey has been declared as a republic, and Atatürk was the founding father of the republic and has been elected as the first democratic leader of this country. And following that process, I mean, he involved a lot of revolutions. And then what you said with regard to the inscription was one of them. There were many other revolutions with the economy, with the civil war, with the legitimization or legitimate rights of the women, or the moving towards economically strong country, along all those lines. But it will be misleading to delete the past of Turkey, because the modern republic was found, or just was the successor of the Ottoman Empire, which lasted 623 years. So based on that background, this modern republic has been founded. And the Turks is, of course, the defining factor of the new republic, but there were, of course, other ethnicities, which we witnessed in the first decades of the republic, that some exchanges with the Greeks, for instance. And then there were also some Armenian Christianity groups, and then some other ethnic groups in Turkey. So Atatürk wanted to create a peaceful country, and the motto, peace at home, peace in the world, was therefore very well embraced by all successive governments. But if you ask me the question, what was the defining moment, or what is the greatest achievement? I guess the greatest achievement that we had all these years, more than 90 years, is that to portray the world that Turkey is a democratic, secular, social state governed by rule of law, that Islam, democracy, and secularism are compatible. They don't need to fight each other. And it is quite possible, despite you are located in a turbulent area, to serve as an island of stability to the world peace.
Indeed, that's what you are doing at this time, in particular, really, as you said, turbulent time and turbulent district, in particular the region. And I see the foreign policy of Turkey is kind of helping very in a greater way to make better the region. How do you find that?
Absolutely. I mean, first of all, the Turkish foreign policy based on many principles. Respect for independence and sovereignty of the countries, of the international community, good relations with domestic countries, with neighboring countries, non-intervention in domestic affairs, using the deep cultural and historical background of Turkey, dating back centuries ago, develop multi-beneficial relations, serving a bridge between East and West, Orient and Occident, having various features together. So Turkey is a Balkan, European, Asian, Caucasian, Middle Eastern, Mediterranean countries, all in the same time, which is very unique.
With Mongolia, it has a long, beyond diplomatic relations, we have monuments here in your language, and monuments, Kultigen, and how do you associate with this background, historic background yourself?
Absolutely. So the ties between both countries are very strong because the fundamental is strong. Deep cultural and historical ties exist between both countries. So therefore, even today's modern relations are based on this solid foundation. Mongols and Turks were subjects of the big Hun Empire. So we are referring back to days thousands of years ago. I mean, definitely about 2,000 years ago. And most prominently, one of the early Turkic states were found on this soil. And the most prominent one is the Köktürks, which continued between 557 until 735. So in two different periods. And the monuments today, when you go to Harhorin, are referring to a dynasty, Bilge Khan and Kültigin. And also when you go to Nalay, their Vezir Vaiston Yukuk. So these are the first inscriptions written maybe in runic alphabet, which we do not use today. However, the first time the word Turk goes on these stone inscriptions. So therefore it is very important to us. And there are messages even which could be applicable to today's politics. So therefore it is very crucial for us. And we have these strong ties. Of course, throughout centuries, we were together. When, after the great Chinggis Empire, when we have this Mongolia in 4 different states, the Ilkhanate states, the center of which was today's Iran, had also some territory in today's Anatolia. Amasya, Sivas, Kayseri, where you built some schools, some hospitals, some bridges, some fountains, which are still to be seen and to be visited today.
See, don't you think that these historic backgrounds, say, from that type of Mongolia was existing that time, and don't you think that these remaining historical foundings in this country could be a good reasons for Turkish people to visit Mongolia as tourists?
Absolutely, I fully agree with you. So therefore, I personally attach great importance to people-to-people contacts. As a matter of fact, one of my promises that I gave to President Elbegdorj during the presentation of the credential ceremony is to increase this feature of the relations. So this reminds me, of course, tourism. And tourism means service, quality service. So today's, if Turkey created a miracle in this field, so definitely behind lies the quality of the service, behind lies respect for foreigners and for tourism, but behind lies also hard work and dedicated work. So last year Turkey was visited by 38 million foreigners. 38 million. And there was a direct income of about 32 billion US dollars to this budget. Wow. This is huge.
Almost $1,000 per each visitor on the average. I have been to your country several times. I indeed agree with the quality of services, not only in the big cities, but also in the remote areas on the way, and a lot of things to see, good presentation in English. And what was behind that boom of tourism? Was it any vision, or was it a particular policy? How you made it happen that well? So,
of course, this miracle has not been created in the last few years. That dates back to 1980s, during the former President Özal period, where Turkey has achieved a lot. Basically, the economy entered free market economy, and then there were a lot of privatization. There were special law, including promotion of investments, as well as promotion of tourism. Special measures were taken by the coastal governorates of Turkey. And of course, together with this, the image was very important, because it was a problematic image of Turkey with regard to human rights, with regard to democracy. So parallel to this, we had to take also important steps in the field of democracy. But when it comes to today's achievement, of course, I mean, Turkey gets richer and richer. As I said, throughout this last 13, 14 years, the GDP has been tripled. The personal income now has reached almost 11,000 US dollars. And keep in mind that Turkey has a population of 77 million people. Only Istanbul has 15 million. And the population of Istanbul alone is more than 122 countries in the world. So we are talking that kinds of sizes. Of course, Istanbul alone is not enough. we also made investment to the central Anatolia, Konya, for instance, the center of the Anatolian Selçuk Empire, Izmir, the third capital and the largest export harbor of Turkey, Antalya, of course, the pearl of Mediterranean, which has a population of 2 million, but receives every year 12 million foreigners to its borders.
Very tourism-friendly country.
So these are the important facts. So it did not happen
one day.
One day. So we needed to invest. We needed to go step by step. So this is, I guess, what Mongolia needs. So therefore, I very much was heartened that when Mongolia was chosen as the partner country this year, ITB Berlin, which was also partially sponsored by the Turkish Airlines, by the way. I'm proud to announce here. But this is just the beginning. When my friends ask me, everything is done, I said, nothing is done, to be very frank. This is just the beginning. And now the story, the nice journey of Mongolia starts from now on, I guess.
Exactly. I think also Turkish Airlines being one of the largest now airlines, and Istanbul being one of the busiest hub in the world, I think a role of airline using your strategic location is important. And yet, Turkish Airlines, I have flown several times, but from Ulaanbaatar we have a 1 hour useless stop in Bishkek. What is that about? Why you don't fly it straight?
If it is 1 hour, you're lucky. Sometimes you have to witness, unfortunately, this stop 7 to 8 hours. This is the fact, which happened to me, basically, when I was coming back from the, in January, from the recent annual ambassadorial conference.
Why 7 to 8 hours?
Why? I mean, let me go through. The MOU between both airlines has been signed in 2012. And then immediately since July 2012, Turkish Airlines started to operate direct flights between Istanbul and Ulaanbaatar. However, there is a limitation for passenger transportation, which was put by the Mongolian side, probably because of the national interest, to protect the national interest of Murat. To a certain level, maybe it could be understandable. But generally, if it will be at the expense of the commercial benefits and free travel rights, and basically develop or give a boost to economic and commercial relations, I have difficulties to understand this limitation.
So they asked you to fly.
So because of this, we cannot deploy large body aircraft. So if I'm not mistaken, please correct me, I guess the model which we deploy today, 3 times a week, this is the frequency, is the Boeing 737-800, which has a capacity of 150. So this basically limits only 3 times a week. So in order to make it more economic and feasible, so it makes a stopover in Bishkek, which is lose time, of course. Minimum 1 hour. The refueling happens in the Kyrgyz territory. So the money goes to the basically Kyrgyz Republic. Of course, in order to compensate, there are some passengers transportation between Bishkek and Ulaanbaatar, but which doesn't serve the purpose. First of all, the duration gets longer. Instead of 7, you fly 9 to 10 hours. Yes. Instead of having more economic tickets, you pay more. Yes. And instead of having this refueling money, another country wins this money.
And to Istanbul, along with Turkish Airlines, every airlines also can come.
Absolutely. So this is a competitive market. So airline sector, civil aviation sector. So if Murat wishes to fly, most welcome. So Murat flies several countries, in the regional countries. Why not to Turkey? Okay. Definitely is most welcome. So but it is important.
These are the issues in tourism, bottlenecks in between two countries, as I see, as you have just now described it. Let's go back to education, where we have several schools. We have almost second generation is now coming of school. You know, the graduates of those Turkish schools now already probably getting married. Some of them continue their education in Turkey. Please tell us about this cooperation. What is the statistics beyond now?
Yes, I mean, if you ask me the question, what is the strongest link between both countries, without hesitation, I will tell you education. Since 1992, Turkish government decided to provide scholarships to Mongolian students. The first graduates